Daisy Cooper is with us now, launching your manifesto today. Give us the headlines.
Well, the Liberal Democrat manifesto is a manifesto to save our NHS and social care. We will have some big, bold pledges on boosting GP numbers, on improving cancer survival rates, ending the access crisis to NHS dentists. And all of this, we're saying, is going to cost an additional £9 billion per year. And we're going to raise that by looking to the big banks and to the billionaires.
Looking at those that know about these things, they're saying 9 billion rescue packages, certainly on the light side.
Well, I think this is a very significant investment that's going to help us recruit an additional 8,000 GPs. We do think it can end the access crisis to NHS dentists. These sums of money could have a really transformational effect in terms of improving our public health and primary care, so that fundamentally, when people want to see a GP and a dentist, and they need to see a GP and dentist, they can see a GP and a dentist.
You've ruled out raising income tax, national insurance and VAT. So what will you be increasing?
Well, we've said for a long time that during a cost of living crisis, it would be the wrong thing to do to look to struggling families to pay more tax. And so that's why, for example, this £9 billion that we want to spend on the NHS and social care, £4 billion of that would come from reversing the tax cut that the Conservatives gave to the big banks. And the other £5 billion would come from closing what is effectively a loophole in capital gains tax, which would affect the 0.1% richest people in the country.
Tell me more about that.
Yes, so capital gains tax at the moment only has has two rates of tax. What we want to do is actually simplify capital gains tax and make it a lot fairer. So we'll separate it out from income tax and treat it in its own right. We'll make it fairer by allowing a bigger allowance introducing an allowance for inflation and increasing the tax-free threshold from £3,000 to £5,000. And then we'll make sure that people who are earning the most or getting the most from capital gains pay a higher rate of tax. So it'll be the 0.1% richest people who will pay more.
So who's that going to impact and under what circumstances?
Well, capital gains is obviously when you sell an asset. So if you're selling your shares, for example, or you have a property portfolio, your own home isn't included. But for people who are selling those shares or something from their property portfolio, depending on how much money they get in a particular year, they'll have to pay a particular percentage. But what we want to do is make it fairer. And I think most people, if they look at the current system of capital gains tax, would be really shocked to think that a nurse, for example, who pays about 20% tax on their salary is paying the same kind of tax rate as somebody who might get £1 million in capital gains after selling off their shares or property. And we think that's unfair. So we're saying there should be a higher rate of tax for people who have those really, really big sums of money brought in by the 0.1% wealthiest people in the country.
So pensioners who potentially make money on dividends, they might be impacted?
I think most ordinary pensioners would not be bringing in the sums of money we're talking about. The way that they would be impacted would be that it would actually be fairer for them. So because we are introducing an inflation allowance and we would be increasing the tax-free threshold, actually most people would see, people who are paying capital gains at the moment, 2/3 of them would see that amount either stay the same or go down. It's the 0.1% of the richest people who would end up paying more.
Talk to me about your boss and some of the stunts that he's been doing over the last couple of weeks or so, falling into lakes, going down water slides, playing with dinosaurs. Do you think that people see the light-hearted side of that, or do they think that's a crazy party, you don't want anything to do with them?
Well, I think a lot of people have seen this election as being quite scrappy between other parties. And when they look at Ed Davey's stunts, what they can see is that we take our politics very seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously. And every time we do a stunt, it does come with a message. So when he was falling off the boards in Lake Windermere, it came with a very serious message about how we want to put an end to raw sewage dumping. When Ed was on the water park, it came with a message about mental health and the fact we want to put a mental health practitioner into every single primary and secondary school. And so these stunts do come with a message, but fundamentally today what we're saying is our manifesto is a manifesto to save the NHS and social care.
You shout loudly, most certainly, but I mean, after boundary changes, you're only defending an eight seats in the whole of the House of Commons out of 650.
Well, we're in second place to the Conservatives in 80 seats around the country, and we're hoping very much to win as many of those as possible. So I know there are millions of voters right now who are making up their minds how they're going to vote, but we are very hopeful that we can make gains in those blue wall areas where Liberal Democrats are the key challengers to the Conservatives.
During a by-election, it's seen as a tactical vote. During a general election, it's seen as a wasted vote.
No, I don't think that's the case. If you look not just at our by-election wins, we've had 4 stunning by-election wins. We've done really well in local elections as well. And the way we Liberal Democrats campaign, we often use our record in local government to build on that and to then win parliamentary seats. And at the last set of local elections, we got some really good results in places like Tunbridge Wells and Wokingham and Winchester and South Cambridgeshire. So we're really hopeful that in places like that, we can make some gains in this general election.
Just a thought before I let you go. Prime Minister's getting quite a kicking, isn't he, over what happened on the Normandy beach at the end of last week. Is that fair?
I think it is fair. I think it was an outrageous thing to do. I think he's brought shame on the office of Prime Minister. And for anybody who has had a relative who either died and fought and died or fought and survived, I think they'll find it really quite a personal insult that he effectively turned his back on some of the veterans who were there.
OK, Daisy Cooper, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much. Good luck with the launch later on. Thanks a lot.